I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7. The freedom light of information, beacon of information, is on for you 24/7 at davejanda.com. Extra shows, content, guests, analysis. I do 4 to 5 other video format shows on our subscription side, and plus our 3-hour radio show that you can listen to live and for free every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Just go to davejanda.com and hit the listen live button. Or if you want the commercial-free podcast, that's part of our subscription platform in addition to our email service and the extra 4 to 5 shows a week. Now, you might say, well, I really can't afford that because that is going to be $90, $100 a month, like some subscription platforms. No, it's $9 a month, 30 cents a day. Why is it just $9? Because my goal is to cover expenses, okay? It's a gift that keeps on giving. Take advantage of it. Because if you don't, look, think of it this way. There's no reason for you to have a subscription to a newspaper or a cable outlet, because I do all the work for you and provide information you'll never get through a newspaper or magazine or through the boob tube on something on cable or frankly on syndicated radio. Because I am not controlled and I am not owned, and I do it for $9, 30 cents a day, $9 a month for you. You can sign up for a month. It renews every month, so you're not stuck for a year if you don't. But I don't know why you would get rid of it. Because just on a cable bill, I'm saving you $100 and some bucks to $150 some bucks, depending on where you live, a month. And giving you information that if you listen to our subscribers, puts them months, years, in some cases a decade ahead of the curve. Now today I want to touch on the issue because remember, on social media platforms, I cannot go where I need to go, which is why davejanda.com exists. Because there's no censorship there. There's no choke points in the system. We're going to talk about chaos today. And how the cult wants to make it the new normal. Now look, all too often, people see all these chaotic events. And they say, wow, that's a bad accident. That's a bad set of accidents. That's a bad set of coincidences. That's just because of incompetence. No to all of the above. It's all planned and it's all willful. Because the goal here is to beat you into submission so you give up the remaining freedoms and liberties and future that you have. And let's face it, the cult, the globalist cult that's been implementing this, has been quite effective. We're at the point now where their efforts, their operation, their agenda is blatant. It's in your face. It's not by accident. Frank Zappa, the fantastic musician, and this is actually on our homepage at davejanda.com, has been forever, since the beginning when we first started the webpage in 2010. Quote, the illusion of freedom will continue as long as it's profitable to continue the illusion. At the point where the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, the financial system coming down, willfully, that's what's happening now, they will just take down the scenery. They will pull back the curtains. They will remove the tables and chairs and move them out of the way. And you will see the brick wall at the back of the theater. Boom. And that's where we are today. We're staring at the brick wall. Unfortunately, too many people, billions of people, are going to hit that wall like a bug hitting a windshield. But hopefully you're not and I'm not. And the way we're not is by having an off-ramp before that brick wall is impact occurs. That's what we do at davejanda.com with our content. We provide you an off-ramp for freedom so you don't hit that brick wall. You hit the brick wall, There's only one person to blame. That be you. Look in the mirror. Because the folks that subscribe to our platform will tell you at davejanda.com, 30 cents a day, Dave, the content you provided put me so far ahead of the game. It protected me. It protected my family. Yeah. Subscribers tell us, your information, Dave, that I can get nowhere else, saved my life. Saved my family's lives. Yeah. That's what we do. Michael Snyder, political commentator, recently wrote the following: our apocalyptic new normal. Most global conflicts since World War II, most billion-dollar disasters ever, and most hungry people have been in history are right now. And that's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not from incompetence. It's willful, folks. It's part of their chaos agenda. Snyder goes on. Our world is witnessing apocalyptic events so frequently that many of us are starting to become numb to it all. Major wars are raging all over the globe. Children in Africa are literally dropping dead from starvation as hunger spreads like wildfire. And, quote, billion-dollar disasters, end quote, are hitting us more frequently than we've ever seen before. But as long as these tragedies are not affecting us directly, most people don't really care too much. As the level of worldwide suffering rises, it seems as though hearts are getting colder at the same time. The traumatic events of the past several years have left deep scars, and there are many that prefer to ignore the apocalyptic things that are happening in the world because it's just too much for them to handle emotionally. We really are living in a time of wars and rumors of wars. Remember, the big card the cult loves to play is war, because out of wars, they play both sides of it. Out of wars, they get more power, more control, and more financial resources. Every single day, more young lives are being wasted. In fact, it's being reported that the number of people facing acute food insecurity, that's the inability to get food, last year was the highest ever recorded. The number of people threatened by hunger in the world has never been so high. In 2023, 281 million people in 59 countries were facing acute food insecurity, starvation, according to the 2024 Global Report on Food Crises. Now, this figure is up to 257 million people in its fifth year running. But hunger is growing in the United States as well. According to one recent survey, over 1/4 of the entire U.S. population is now skipping meals due to crazy high food prices. Not an accident, not a coincidence, not from incompetence. Yeah, I know. Biden is incompetent. Those around him are incompetent. No, they're evil. Evil. Willful. Our apocalyptic new normal is here. We live in a world that's going completely and utterly mad, and you can try to ignore that if you wish, but it is the truth. And ignore it is a huge problem. You see, folks, they use war as a means of laundering money so they can get more financial resources. They use it as a means of killing all of us. Okay? It's not the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Asserts, the Pinks, the Warbers, the Sieves, the Lows, the Pacers that go to war, or their kids. No. It's the Jandas, it's the Smiths, it's the Tylers, it's the you name it, right? We're the ones. They call us, quote, useless eaters, end quote, that die in their wars that they have fabricated and contrived. They get more money out of wars. They get more power. They get more control. They use war to kill us, the useless eaters. And they use war to divert our attention from what they're really up to. And what they're really up to now is the fact that their financial system they have constructed and rigged to come down is coming down. But they don't want you to realize it. They want your attention to be so diverted that once you finally do realize the financial system's coming down, you say, well, it's because of Russia, Ukraine. It's because of the Middle East. It's because of China, Taiwan. It's because of civil strife in the United States. No. Or whatever country. No. They rigged it to come down. And they have pre-positioned themselves so that they will be just fine. This is why you see central banks of the world. This is why you see the banksters. This is why you see these large entities run by the cult accumulating huge amounts of gold and silver over the past 5-10 years. They were pre-positioning themselves. Meanwhile, they're telling you, don't buy any of that hard asset. Buy some of those paper vapor things, bonds and stocks and, stuff that, or stuff that, all we have to do is hit a button and boom, it's gone. Quote, the train has left the station and no one can stop it. This is written by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, a former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury under Ronald Reagan, a friend of ours. We've had him on our platform a number of times. Here's what Dr. Roberts writes. These are the words of Serbia's President Alexander Vučić. He ought to know he is right in the middle of it. He thinks Europe will be at war with Russia in, quote, not more than 3 or 4 months, end quotes, if that long. President Vučić, no one is attempting to stop the war. Nobody is speaking about peace. Peace is almost a forbidden word. Hungarian leader Viktor Orban has a similar view, as does Slovakian President Robert Fico, who survived a recent assassination attempt. Wonder why. In Western Europe, the UK and Washington, everyone is talking about wider war with long-range missiles used for attacks deep inside Russia. Such attacks cannot revive the defeated Ukrainian military. Their purpose seems to be to provoke Russia into a retaliation that Washington used to widen the war. Right. The bigger the war, the more money they make. The more useless eaters that die. And the bigger diversion they create. Now that Putin is backed into a corner with the prospect of NATO missiles striking deep inside Russia, President Vucic's expectation that war is close at hand is very understandable. The way matters are shaping up, the avoidance of war depends on how many provocations the Kremlin will accept and for how long. Putin needs to quickly, this is Dr. Roberts, quickly knock Ukraine out of the war before Ukraine fills up with NATO military personnel. By the way, Zelensky's term has expired, making him illegitimate, essentially making him a dictator. Russian forces should quickly take Kiev, install a new government agreeable to Ukraine as a neutral country, and to the reunification of Donbass with Russia. That's Dr. Roberts' suggestion. Unfortunately, I believe his suggestion will fall on deaf ears because his suggestion would lead to peace, not more war, which the cult depends upon. The cult is about the extinction of humanity with the exception of themselves. You think I'm overstating that? Elon Musk slams extinctionist movement. The extinctionist movement who sees humans as a plague. This is from Steve Watson. In a recent interview, Elon Musk warned that those who wish to see humanity thrive are in a fight against those with an extinctionist philosophy, environmental extremists who see humans as a, quote, plague on the earth, unquote. Musk was speaking to the Cato Institute about the, quote, implosion of the birth rate, unquote, noting that we should be, quote, very concerned, unquote, because it is accelerating in most countries. What do you think helped that along? The SpaceX owner continued, quote, in sort of extreme form of the environmentalist movement, people start to view humans as a plague on the surface of the earth, as a fundamentally bad thing, and with the implication that if all humans disappeared, somehow Earth would be better off, end quote. Musk labeled it, quote, the extinctionist movement, end quote, urging that, quote, I think at a fundamental level, you can think of things as a fight between expansionist and extinctionist philosophies, end quote. That's right. That's what it comes down to. It also comes down to that axis I've always been telling you about. Freedom up, expansion, versus oppression down, extinction. One of the first lessons I learned when I first went to Washington in 1988 and it was asked to be a consultant on healthcare policy to the Reagan administration, was during the orientation meeting. There were about 5, 6 of us in the room being brought in toward the end of the administration to work on healthcare policy, or in different policies. Mine was healthcare policy. And one of President Reagan's top assistants, her name was Kathy, came in the room and said the following: "You are here to develop policy for the Reagan administration, in particular President Reagan, to be utilized by every American. When you present policy to President Reagan, it should never be on the right-left axis. That axis, the president feels, is meant to divide people. It's theater." Interesting that Ronald Reagan, the actor, would call the right-left axis theater, but he did. "The president wants you to focus on the up-down axis, up being freedom. Your policy should be based and founded in freedom, enhancing freedom for every American and, frankly, every person of the world." But she never said deep state. She's never said globalist syndicate. She's never said globalist cult. She never said criminal international banking syndicate. She never said shadow government. But that's who she was talking about now here. She said, "There are people within our government and people within industry in our country and around the world that want to oppress every person. Your role is to develop policies that promote the up-axis freedom and block all those in government and in the private sector that want to push down toward oppression." Expansion versus extinction. Extinction down, yeah, toward Hades. There's a reason. And to get their extinction events, they need chaos. The cult does. So all this chaos, you see, that they're trying to overwhelm you with, because they think if they can overwhelm you, you'll just succumb. You'll just say, "Oh, whatever, just help me." No, it's your role to fight it. To fight chaos. Just say no to chaos. As Nancy Reagan, just say no to drugs. Another chaos event. Just say no. But do more than just say no. Stand up. Step out. Educate and inform others. Pass this video on to others. Take the necessary steps to focus on expansion and to block those that are intent to extinct every one of us. I thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7. DaveJanda.com. Extra shows, content, guests, analysis on information I cannot go into on any social media platform or on the radio because of the choke points. Not at our radio station. There are none at WHAM. The choke points is above that with the FCC. That will do anything in their power to make sure that the extinction message is front and center, and that the expansion message is censored, which is why we are so targeted. Because we solely focus on the up axis and on expansion. 24/7. DaveJanda.com. Tremendous amount of free public information. The real meat of the matter is on the 30 cents a day subscription content. Join us. If you don't, look in the mirror. It's your biggest enemy if you don't join us. Yeah. Being ignorant is not being safe. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.